thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to hit record now and you go for it.
Hi, I'm Amber James, the creator and author of the Notes to Self shop. And this, I just forgot. Sorry.
Really good, though. So far, so good.
I'm literally looking at verbatim.
Right.
I'm like, okay. I need to not do that.
That's okay.
Okay, gonna start over.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Amber James from the Notes to Self shop, and you are listening to the Vroom, Vroom, Veer with Jeff Smith podcast. And this is your reminder to write a love note to yourself today.
I love it. And I want to go write a love note to myself now. Okay, I'm going to hit stop. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Are you ready to thoughtfully steer away from your revved up, frenzied, and far too often scripted life? Then welcome to Vroom Vroom Veer with Jeff Smith, where he guides you down the road differently traveled by sharing unique experiences with guests who have managed to shift away from a life stuck on cruise control and veered their way into a more authentic and fulfilling one in all sorts of interesting and kind of remarkable ways. Get ready to Vroom Vroom Veer with your differently traveled road chauffeur, Jeff Smith.
Jennifer Sontag, thank you so much for being on Vroom Vroom Veer and welcome to the show. How's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me here, Jeff. Nice to be here.
I didn't screw up your name, did I? Did I get it right?
I don't think so.
Jennifer Sontag. Okay, good. Okay, good. Close enough.
Good enough for government work.
There you go. I was there. So you are at, I'm going to screw this up, Italian Citizenship Concierge, that French word that I can never say, .com. So talk a little bit about what's got you fired up there in Sicily on the beach.
So what has me super fired up is my partner and I just launched a course on how to get Italian citizenship by descent. And for the 18 million Americans that are potentially Italian citizens, this is super, super exciting because you're not going to need lawyers, service providers, all of these expensive things. We're going to break it down step by step and teach you how to do it.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. Don't you wish you had a concierge when you did it?
Don't I wish? No, I did this process while I was partially living in China during COVID, and then I moved to Italy during COVID, all on my own. Oh, yes. I totally wish somebody would have done it for me.
Oh, my goodness.
I'd have a lot less white hair.
Wow, I can't imagine. So we'll have to get into that. Let's put a pin in that, and we'll talk about that later because yikes, in China and then trying to move to Italy during lockdown. Lovely.
Right? As an American citizen.
As an American citizen. Yeah. Yes. I went to Japan after lockdown and I was scared. I didn't really want to. Yeah. It was we went in November of 22. And by the time, so my wife is from Japan. So we have to go to Japan, right? We have to see her family and shop and stuff. Right. But of course, we didn't go. We went in 19 and we didn't go in 20 and we didn't go in 21 just because we couldn't. So she could have went that whole time because she has a Japanese passport. They wouldn't let me in. So she would have had to go alone and then she would have had to stay like in a hotel or a friend's house for like 2 weeks. And then even after those 2 weeks, you still can't ride public transportation at all. And you can't get anywhere in Japan without public transportation. Her parents don't drive anymore. So she would have had to like bother a friend. Do you mind picking me up and driving me 3 hours to my dad's house? That's a big ask. Yeah. In lockdown. That's a big ask.
Yeah, that's a big ask. And by the way, I've been living in America and we don't wear masks. And, now I've just internationally in a tuna can filled with germs. Me on the countryside of Japan. Sounds like a great idea.
That's a really big ask. So we didn't ask.
I understand. That's understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I lived through all of that in China.
The whole
I was
thing in China.
The whole thing. So
Wow.
we were not able to leave China while COVID was going on.
And you just
we ended up
happened to be
having-
there?
this is the Vroom Vroom Veer.
This is the Veer part. Okay.
This is the Veer. So I actually had left China in December of 2019
Okay.
to return to the US to get a quick little brain surgery. And
Quick little brain
that
surgery.
happened on January 15th, 2020. And as we know, there were some rumors that there was a bit of a flu going around in China at that point.
Wow.
So
Right.
So I got my doctors to like move everything along quick and give me a clean bill of health. And I flew into China in February of 2020.
Oh, just
thinking,
perfect timing.
it's just the flu.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Wow. So were
No
you,
big deal.
were you on like a worky visa or were you on a travel touristy visa? Oh, work visa.
No, I was on a work visa. I taught
Okay.
business management and economics
Okay. Wow.
in Shanghai.
Okay.
So I'm coming back to work.
Right. Sure.
Nope. That did not happen.
So what was lockdown like in China? It was a lot worse because they're like the government is way in charge there. Like,
Oh, yeah, the government's in charge. So
when they say
I-
lockdown in China, it has a different meaning altogether.
Oh, yeah. And so when I was there in 2020, the lockdown in hindsight was not so bad as what happened last year in 2022's lockdown.
Really?
In 2020's lockdown, it was new. It was kind of novel at that point. We're
Right.
like,
Nobody
yay,
really knew what was going
home.
on. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. We had Ulama and we'd get our deliveries and,
Right.
we could walk to our gate and get our deliveries and stuff like that. There was a lot of alcohol, a lot of,
Yeah. Good
indoor
idea.
dance parties, excessive cooking, hoarding of food.
Yeah. Right.
Trying to figure out what was going on. Nothing like what friends went through in 2022. And thank goodness I was out of China by that point, because in 2022's lockdown, there were food shortages.
Wow.
There was daily testing. Like in 2020, I don't think I was even tested for COVID even once during that time period.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Sounds
So-
about right. Yeah.
So, in the early days, it wasn't so bad. And we were free by the beginning of May. We were back in classrooms and we were going out to brunch, and, everybody else in Europe and the US
Yeah. We
was
were
totally
all,
locked down.
right. Wow. So it was really only like February to May. That's not bad.
Yeah, February to May. I mean, we kept mask on if we were inside, but we had 2 QR codes on our phone. We had a lot of, it's the Chinese government, their surveillance.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
we were, we
It's
were
overt
tracked. It
instead of
just wasn't who it
covert.
was.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so if with contact tracing, if somebody got COVID, you knew that, your number was up and you were off to the quarantine center.
Wow.
So I stayed for 47 days. I just hung out. I wrote a business plan. I learned to drink martini. Did you know that you can actually drink vermouth? I had no idea. It's a drink. It's a cocktail. It's not just
Vermouth all
something
by
you
itself.
put in your martini glass and pour out.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either until COVID. This is the kind of thing you learn.
Ah, yes. Innovations in alcohol. I like it.
Right. Yeah.
So-
So yeah, it was
Yeah.
weird.
I bet. Yeah. Yeah. The lockdown was scary for everybody. So, and we all made it. I mean, outside of
Right.
the fact that like the conversation about toilet paper was really weird, right? It was just like, did you get any toilet paper when you went to the store? No, they're still out.
Oh we're going to have to buy that gas station toilet paper.
The thing is like my wife is like one of these people that like there's very few things that she loads up on, but toilet paper is one of those things. Like we usually have like one of those Costco size things of toilet paper somewhere hidden in the house. I don't know where that is, but it's there.
In the rafters.
And the thing is like we never even dented the actual supply, but she was just, she was but I can't get any more, right? She was in panic because everybody else was. So we bought dumb toilet paper anyway, right? That we never want to use ever.
So when we went into the grocery stores in Shanghai, they were trolling you because the second you walked in, they had huge displays of toilet paper and hand sanitizer. And of course, then I would troll my friends and send back pictures going, hey guys, need toilet paper? I'll send you some.
Well, it wasn't like everywhere. I think it was only like big cities. Like my parents in small town Michigan, nobody freaked out. And their toilet paper was fine. It was just like, it's just a flu, right? I think people in cities just like, I don't know why, but yeah, Vegas, California, everybody really freaked out about like, it was like the second week. Well, let's see. I think I got sent home from work on the 17th of March. So like that, the week after that, you couldn't find toilet paper in a store anywhere.
So bizarre.
Yeah, they took it off the shelf, and then they were starting because people were hoarding. So, like immediately, they would just go and clear the shelves, and it's so stupid. Oh, people.
So the good news is, I now live in Italy, where we have plenty of toilet paper.
Yeah, and really good food. Yes.
For some reason, the bar and shop owners and things like that don't want to share their toilet paper and put it out in the public restroom. So you still need to bring it along with you.
Oh,
if
wow.
You're going to small.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of it. You just have to buy it yourself and supply it yourself. But still worth coming to Italy because the food is delicious.
Yes. Okay. Good to know. All right. So when you're going out, pack that in the purse. Or backpack.
And it's COVID. Channel that PTSD from COVID.
There you go. Okay, so before we get too far along in the present, let's go back in time. So I know you grew up in the Midwest, but I don't know where. So where did you grow up?
So I grew up in St. Louis on the banks of the muddy Mississippi. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. You're like right on the edge of the Midwest. St. Louis to me is like one of those edge places.
St. Louis is on the edge of the Midwest. It's sort of like that gateway to the West, but it's also right on that north-south line. It's a really interesting place to grow up.
Nice mix.
Because I grew up in the suburbs, but then, as an adult, moved to the city, and it's like living in two totally different places.
I bet.
In aspects. So it's great because there's a lot there. There's a lot to do and keep you busy.
I think I went through St. Louis a couple times, but only the airport.
Oh, okay. Now, where did you grow up? You said
I grew up in Michigan.
Ah, cold.
Cold.
That's where we did vacation in the summer was Michigan because you have nicer.
Correct. Yes. Summers are awesome. Unless, of course, there's too many mosquitoes. But I was like way up north. Have you ever heard of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan? That's the part that's not the glove. So I was in the not the glove part. So,
okay.
Yeah, there's
never been that hot, but
it is just like it's a part of the country that it's so rural, right? I love it. It's super cheap, but you can't if you fly in, then you're an hour away from my parents' house, maybe like 45 minutes, like from Green Bay, Wisconsin. So it's right on the Wisconsin-Michigan border. Great place, mostly trees, not so many people, which is good. Yeah, that's where I grew up. But you were right. I wanted to escape because it was the frozen tundra that I was looking to escape. It's like way too much winter.
Yeah, and St. Louis had the extremes of too much winter and too much summer. Where
Right.
in the summer you felt like you were walking through wetsuit. Just so and so wet. It was just gross.
Yeah.
So I moved to the beach, and
Yeah.
it's just as humid, but there's a breeze.
There's a breeze. That's right.
Breeze.
Yes.
That's nice.
Yeah. The beach. That's great. So let's talk a little bit about your life before, right? All of this
Yeah.
cool stuff in Italy. So what did you do when you went to college? Did you study? I don't know. I'm not even going to guess. What did you do?
Oh, no. So this is, yeah. So I am a non-traditional. So at
Me too.
18, when I should have been going off to college, instead I had a cute little baby boy. And at 19, I opened a maternity and children's store because entrepreneurship is the thing that every 18-year-old should do.
Why not? It's all going to go horribly wrong anyway at some point. So at least you've got the excuse of being 19.
I was young and stupid. I was working for this other little shop, and I saw that they were doing good business. I liked the product. I liked what they were doing. But the owner, she was just making some bad decisions in my 19-year-old know-it-all brain. So I went to my parents and said, hey, I'm not really interested in going back to college at this point, but I really think I'd be an excellent business person. I think we should take my college money and invest it in me opening a business.
And that's when they're supposed to say, no, that's a bad idea, but they didn't.
I think they should. They should. And instead, my parents went, okay, here's what you have to do. And so they gave me a couple of bars. I had a cross, and I crossed each one.
Wow.
And so I was 19. That was 1992.
Nice.
In 2000, 8 years later, I sold that store to May Department Stores, who at that time had 435 stores across the United States.
My goodness.
They bought my teeny tiny little 19-year-old
business
girls. Yep.
Wow.
And then I went to work for them. So yeah. So it was pretty crazy. So I didn't go back to school until I was 35.
Wow. Neat.
And when I went back to school, I studied social work.
Okay. You and I are very similar. Did you ever do social work?
No.
Yeah. Okay. See, I have a degree in psychology I never used too, but I did learn that I don't want to be a psychologist. So that was worth it.
Yes. I learned that, so my businesses, my boutiques, because I went on to have a couple of different boutiques, but all of my boutiques, my clients were, they were professional women who tended to be upper income. They were involved in a lot of charities, a lot of different organizations. And so I really enjoyed volunteering and doing different things with different organizations and people in need. And so I thought, at that point I had a great opportunity. I could go back to school and I didn't have to worry about that social workers, were drastically underpaid. So one of the things that I learned by 4 years of social work school was I really enjoyed the volunteering, but I really am not cut out to be the social worker because I'm going to be that old woman that has 500 cats because I want to save everybody. And I am just going to hoard all of them, and it's going to be a terrible disaster for me.
Right. Okay.
So I finished social work school in 3 years, while my son at the same time was spending 4-ish plus years, 5, getting his bachelor's degree at the same time.
Wow. Well, that's fun.
And then I went on to get my master's in public health and then start my Ph.D. in public health.
Wow.
Again, never did anything with it.
But it sounds cool, though.
It sounds really cool. I have the world's most expensive degrees. But what I did learn was there's a lot of good transferable skills there. And those were really great.
Totally. Yes.
But I am not the person to go out and save the world. That is just not me. Not me. There are people that are really, really immensely qualified for this, and it is not me.
Yeah, I think you have to be like a type A personality, and you have to be competitive and want to win things.
Yeah.
And
not me.
you have to like to fight. Like, yeah. And I just watched what's his Netflix special about Bill Gates.
Oh,
So he's got all the money in the world, right? So if you had all the money in the world, I already know what you would do. You'd move to Italy and drink wine and do podcasts at 9:00 at night.
absolutely.
I'm doing something similar, except I'm in Vegas, right? And I'm not working anymore either, but I'm podcasting and having a good time. I'm not out there trying to like cure disease or anything. What's that?
You can go right down the street and you're in Paris.
That's right. Or New York or anywhere on the strip. Right. Yes. They're all there.
It's all on the strip, baby.
That's right. It's all miniatured versions of all of that. Right. So, I think people, I get it. Like not the save the world type. Me neither. I think the world is okay. You're not going to change people. People are going to be people. Right. Just be nice to the ones you meet. That.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, I think that's the big thing that I learned when I was working through public health, because I focused on social and behavioral sciences, a really big fancy way to say, I learned how to help people get from where they are to where they want to be.
Oh, nice.
On an individual basis, which is really, really incredible. So I learned how to, help empower people and advocate for them and support them and coach them along to get them to where they want to be so that they can be in Vegas, so that they can be here in Italy, so they can be living the life they want, as opposed to feeling that like life is happening to them.
Right.
Like,
right.
And so that became kind of my superpower that came out of it. I'm not going to save everybody, but I can, one person at a time, I can help nudge you along.
Yeah. You have to want to, right? That individual that you can't go pick somebody off the street and say, hey, I'm going to fix you.
Yeah.
That does not work.
And I think that's the big problem when I was in my social work classes that I would, listen to the professors talk about the burnout and talk about, just how ungrateful people were and how poorly they were treated. And I thought, what am I doing to myself? I have teenage children. I don't need to go to work and be treated badly. Like,
right.
My teenagers don't appreciate me. I don't need everyone else hating me. Yeah,
so I
went a different route.
I get it. Yeah. It is. That's a challenge. It's a good superpower though. So congratulations. Not that education, not wasted. Okay. Between you and me, education is never wasted. Okay. So I'll make you feel better. Right. I did a bachelor's degree in psychology. And even before I finished that bachelor's degree in psychology, I knew I was not going to do anything after the bachelor's. Because I found out like the hard way that basically a bachelor's in psychology is just sort of like the greatest hits of psychology. It's like, here's this, here's that, here's this, here's that. Now, what do you want to do? Right? You get to the end and they send in a guy and he says, what kind of psychologist would you like to be now? And then you have to go do more school. Right. So the bachelor's degree, you didn't really learn anything. Right? It's like you get like the history of psychology.
Yeah, thanks.
And
thanks,
previews. I could have got that and it wouldn't have taken a year and a half or 2 years or whatever the hell it was. Right. And then, now this was not useless. I went to massage school too.
Oh, amazing.
So amazing. Now, I don't want to be a massage therapist. So what I learned there was massage is great. And it's kind of a crappy job for me, right? If you want to do it just as a job, not so great. Right? Pay's not great, and it's really hard on your body. If you want to make money doing that, you have to do your own thing, like be your own business. Didn't love it enough, so I was like, okay. But so remember when I told you that I couldn't walk and keep up with my wife when I was in my 30s at the mall? Now I can.
So that's the magic secret.
Well, like clean up your diet, look into micronutrients, right? For sure. That was probably the biggest rock in the bucket is like, if you do this with your food, like open it up and there's a package and it wafts out the smell of antibiotics, don't eat that.
If you cannot pronounce it,
don't eat it. Yes. Yeah, good call. So junk food, bad. I think we all know that, but we do it anyway. So it's not like you never eat junk food, right? You want to do offset. Right, it's kind of like your carbon trading thing, right? Eat more greens.
Yes. I'm going to fly across the world, but I'm going to give you $5 extra.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work, but you can do it in your diet, right? I think, like, you just want to minimize the crap, I guess, and try to maximize. Like, if you just eat like real food mostly, you're okay. I'm okay anyway. Real food mostly. But the massage therapy came in because I learned about like trigger point therapy and stuff. So when things go wrong, like I have this like data bank of things in my brain and books and stuff, and I can go, oh, right, hips are hard. Okay, now I have to go work on my hips. Good cough. I like that. It's all good.
I had a mute off there.
It was lovely. That's why cameras are great. Okay, so all right, so let's go. I want to get like there's a couple of things that you did. So you made clothes for Michelle Obama and Madeleine Albright. That sounds cool.
Okay, I didn't. Yes, so I didn't make their clothes.
Okay, close though.
I used to dress them. So.
Wait, what?
Right. So I went from at 19, I opened a maternity and baby store because at that time I had a young son. And so that's where my mind was. As he got a little bit older, it felt like the 8-year pregnancy because I was no longer pregnant, but I was only working with pregnant women. And so it was, babies and bellies and bumps and things like that went.
There's only so much like you can do with those clothes too.
Exactly. And there's only so much, where you can only hear the same pregnancy stories the same number of times. So
8-year pregnancy. Yikes.
After I sold, hey, anybody that's pregnant knows.
I get it. Yeah. 9 months is too long, I would imagine.
So after that, after I sold, I opened boutiques for women that were not expecting, and they were young designer boutiques. And so we had young designers from all across America, and my clothing was very interesting, very cool. And I had the opportunity, I don't even know how to say this, I'm trying to make it more understandable in layman's terms. So what I did was the stores ran themselves. I had a staff, the stores were run by the staff, but I started doing personal shopping and personal dressing, image consulting.
Oh, wow.
Is the proper term for different local celebrities, which then turned into some local politicians, which then turned into connections with the future president at that time and the former Secretary of State and a former president's wife and many other people. So it was really cool. So I used to pick their clothes. So, I could, I know their sizes. I've been in a lot of closets. It's a really interesting relationship that you have, especially with women, when you're choosing a professional woman's wardrobe, because, in clothes cognition, so how we represent ourselves by the clothing that we wear, and the impression that people form on us in the first 3 seconds of meeting us is very, very important. And a lot of that is done visually.
Okay, that makes sense. Right.
And so what is the majority of what they see of your human figure is the clothing you're in. And so my job was always to make sure that the clothing reinforced the woman and did not overspeak her intellect, her position, her experience, her knowledge, and represented her in the best way possible. Yeah, so it was
That's a
really
lot.
cool. Yeah, that's why I was like, that's why there was such long pregnant pause.
I get it. Yeah. No, I get it though. That's a big job. I mean, something I've never, ever thought about. I knew there was a person though. I just never thought I'd talk to them in real life. So that's cool. All right.
Hey, my father, who is now 75 years old, is still asking me, what is it that you did? I'm like, I've done this for 30 years. Why are you still asking me what my job is? He still doesn't understand that this is my job.
Wow. Yeah. I never want to be one of those people that has to worry about like what people think about what I'm wearing. I've nailed like suburban dork. That's my look. I'm sticking with it.
Everybody needs to have their own style. And
Thank you.
And your style needs to represent who you are.
Yes.
And there's no wrong or right style as long as you feel good in it.
There you go.
This is
I'm optimizing for retired comfort. But whenever I see like Pulp Fiction, did you ever see Pulp Fiction?
Yes.
And they were wearing like bad shorts and t-shirts that were just picked up in like somebody's closet, right? And you're like, what do they look like? They look like dorks. That's my look. Somebody had to tell me to stop tucking in my polo. That nobody does that anymore. Please. Yeah, please. Yeah. Stop tucking. Nobody's tucking anymore.
I mean, you can tuck, but there's a certain body type that looks better tucked and a certain body type that looks better untucked. And a lot of times when you untuck, you're also going to lengthen the body and appear taller.
Okay.
As opposed to tucking in, cutting yourself in half, which is going to make you appear shorter.
Wow.
You want to be in the rule of thirds. You need the rule of thirds.
Interesting. You don't want to be looking like you're cut in half.
No.
Now I have to come to Italy so you can dress me. That'd be awesome.
The funniest part is when I went back to school, one of my clients / friends told me, she said, "No, I'm inviting you to my holiday party, and it's kind of special, so it's festive dress. Please don't wear your college clothes."
Wow, festive dress.
I'm like, oh, how? You mean I can't wear my hoodies and, like my sweatpants and my fuzzy slippers to the holiday party?
I'm always confused with holidays. So I have like a festive sweater. I have some like Looney Tune Christmas ties. Those people, yes. It's just like I don't want a sweater. I really don't. It's hard for me to fit in with the humans. I am literally the alien anthropologist. It's just like, what are they doing?
What is that thing today?
Yeah. Why do they do these things? Anyway, so all right, so let's get into this thing where you went through a tough divorce, became an empty nester, and went, screw it, I'm getting out of here and I'm going to Italy.
Right? Yeah. So before so I went back to school.
Right.
At 35, and that coincides with when I got married. I got married to someone that was 7-8 years younger than me, a professor of architecture.
Good for you.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was nice. He was nice arm candy.
Yeah. I didn't know they made those in male versions too. Okay. So he was a himbo instead of a bimbo. Okay. All right.
Oh yes. He was definitely a himbo. I had a series of himbos, but I made the mistake of marrying that himbo.
Gotcha.
Because he had a good resume and he appeared well. But so went back to school, married the himbo. Then a couple of years later, almost 10 years later, the himbo needed to be kicked to the curb.
Yep. As they do.
They get old.
Yes.
They age.
That's right.
Well.
They don't look good anymore. Right. All of the things that made you good, are gone.
Exactly. So my son was graduating. He had just finished his master's, and my daughter was getting ready to finish her bachelor's. And I thought, what the heck am I doing? I have never had a gap year. I've never traveled because I've owned a business. I've had kids. I couldn't go anywhere because it would be too expensive. I'd have to pay somebody. I'd have to have babysitter, blah, 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 blah. I'd be stressed. I'm out. I'm going to take a year. I'm going to go.
Wow.
So
and you got divorced, right?
And I had gotten divorced, and I had kicked the himbo to the curb.
So there's no one around to tell you no.
No, other than the little cat. So found
Good
a
for
home
you.
for the cat
Yeah.
and sold everything. I
Wow.
sold my couch. I sold the car, everything. Got rid of everything. Forced some stuff onto my children. Made them take it.
Nice.
Packed up, and I moved to Shanghai, China for 1 year. And I thought, I just need a refresh. I'm going to take 1 year. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go teach English. I'm going to, basically earn, I think it was the equivalent of $12,000 a year was what I had
Nice.
signed up.
That's going to go really far in China. So that's good. Yeah.
No, that was not going to get me far. So I arrive in China, and the job is terrible. The apartment is terrible. And I quickly realized there's no way I'm going to be able to live on $12,000 a year, even if I'm living in China. This is not going to happen.
It's not going to work out. Huh? Okay.
No. The job lasts 4 days.
Wow. It was that bad. My goodness. Worse than the himbo.
It never even started. Like, I didn't even sign the contract. It was just 4 days in China. So that, okay, if I tuck my tail and I go back home, I have nothing. But I'm in China right now. So what should I do? Well, this is how Jennifer thinks. Jennifer booked a room at the Ritz-Carlton. Checked in.
Why not? Why you're burning off that couch money now?
I'm burning the couch money. I sold the couch. I got some money to burn.
That's right.
So I checked in to the Ritz-Carlton. And
nice spot, I bet.
It was pretty nice. I actually did not leave the compound at all during that week, other than to go for an interview. So I started putting out my resume to a bunch of different schools, and some school picked me up and they said, "Oh, you will be our science teacher." And I said, "Oh, that's great. I'm going to teach science. Why?" And they said, "Well, because you have a degree. You have a master's of science." Not real science.
Yeah, it's one of those English words that makes no sense. Yes.
Yeah.
Masters of science. Oh, you can be a science teacher. Yes. Yes.
You could be a science teacher. So they had me. So I started out my first 6 weeks of China. I taught science to 1st through 4th graders. Now,
okay, I
am not child friendly, nor am I a science teacher. This was a really interesting mix.
Interesting.
But I made some great friends, and I worked with a group of like 25 to 35-year-old dudes who went to China, and they're sort of a particular type, but they were great. So they embraced this little white-haired old lady and made me their mascot. Young old. I was the mascot. I was the young old mascot. So I stayed. And 6 weeks later, I was able to score myself a job teaching something proper, which I actually
knew how to teach. Yes. Okay.
Knew how to teach.
Good.
I started teaching business management, which was very good.
I think you could do that. Yeah. Yeah, you could do that.
So I could do that. I could totally do that. I ended up teaching that for almost
all the
3
answers
years.
are in the book, so you're good.
Well, except for it was IB. Have you ever dealt with IB?
International business?
International baccalaureate. It's some crazy learning type. It's a learning pedagogy. I don't know. It's an idealism out of Geneva, Switzerland.
Oh, wow.
So my students, I was teaching grade 11 and 12 business and economics. These kids were writing by the end of the school year papers that were equivalent to my master's
thesis.
Thesis.
Wow.
I mean,
right.
It was pretty incredible. These kids were bright. They were really, really bright. And so, it pushed every bit of me. But, COVID happened. I had a little brain surgery, and it was time to leave China.
Wait, so before we get out of China, Let's talk a little bit about food.
Yeah.
'Cause
Love food.
Chinese food is just so good. And, what we eat in the States is not Chinese food, right? So talk a little bit about like when you went out for like, did you get like street food quite a bit? Like a lot, like every day?
No. So I kind of have I have little weird food aversions.
Okay.
I'm a freak for cleanliness.
Okay.
So there were really, really great street food places that I loved and others that I was a little unsure of.
Right. Well, you got to be careful with street food.
Where the unsure stuff was.
Okay.
But yeah, the food was so good. It was funny. There was actually a restaurant that was Chinese American food.
Oh, that's great. Yes. Yes. I am familiar.
The Chinese
right.
thought it was totally novel that they had fortune cookies. They had the Chinese takeout boxes, they had crab rangoons and egg rolls. They had all the American Chinese favorites.
So that's what you liked?
No, it was funny. I had only been there once. The rest of the time I was eating
real Chinese food. Right. Okay.
Real Chinese food. But real Chinese food is so interesting. What we get in the US is basically Cantonese food. So mainly from I always get this wrong if it's from Hong Kong or Taiwan, but it's more Cantonese, not Mandarin.
Right.
But then once you get into China, China's huge.
It's so big.
You have Sichuan food that's really, really spicy. You have Shanghainese food that is much more sweet. There's food from the north where noodles are more prevalent, not rice.
Okay.
You get into the Xinjiang region and they have these amazing cumin spiced ribs. Oh, salivate. The food was so good, but it's so diverse and delicious. It really, really interesting food. Nothing like American Chinese food, which still has its place, and I still love it.
Sure.
I still love me, some General Tso chicken.
So but I grew up, again, small town Michigan, right? So literally, I never had Chinese food ever in my life until I went to Japan when I was 18 in the Air Force. So what would be the most popular restaurant right outside the main gate of Misawa Air Force Base is Japanese Chinese food. Perfect. So it's kind of like American Chinese food, right? But it's Japanese Chinese food, which is really, really good. I can't describe it, right? Because it's this weird mix of shit I never knew, but it was really good, right? Like cashew chicken, right? It's neither Japanese nor Chinese. It's some sort of mixy blend, but really good. And then all of those Japanese Chinese restaurants also, had the favorite hits of Japanese food that you could also get, right? So it wasn't until I got married to my wife, and then we went back to the same base. She's like, this is all just basically Japanese food, and then call it Chinese for Americans. I'm like, okay, good. That makes sense.
That sounds like eating Japanese food here in Sicily, because the Japanese restaurants, the Sicilians love sushi.
Okay.
But there's a lot of Japanese here.
Right.
Owners are all Chinese. So it's Chinese people that own the Japanese sushi restaurants that serve spaghetti and pasta. I'm like, oh my God. So confusing.
Yeah, well, my wife, she will not go to a Japanese restaurant in the States unless she can find their ad in a Japanese language newspaper, one of those free newspapers.
Smart.
Right. Mm-hmm. Because she just cannot abide we're trying to make Japanese food, but it's not. She can't do that. If she walks in, she leaves. It's like she just looks around and goes, no. We actually accidentally ate fake Japanese food in Phoenix with a bunch of friends. And I think she got chicken.
Did she like it?
Yeah, because it was just chicken, right? But it was a sushi restaurant, right? We were looking at the menu going, where's the Japanese food, right? And they're all getting what they were getting. And we're like, we didn't know what to do. Let's just get something we can eat. It was weird. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just get the least potentially offensive. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think you like that. So I was just back in the States, maybe like 2 months ago. And my family for years has gone to the same Italian restaurant, and we loved it. And the nickname is the Dungeon of Pasta, because they just
Okay.
give you these overflowing bowls of delicious, delicious pasta. Well, now I've been living here a little over 2 years, and we went in. It was so bad. I'm now like your wife. I'm just going to order the chicken and not the pasta again. Why are Americans making their pasta? You guys cannot cook the pasta that long. Al dente. You want a little
A bite.
to it. You need
A little bite. Yeah.
bite. Yeah. No, come on, people. You've got teeth. Use them.
Yeah.
It's not, the pasta should not melt in your mouth. That is not a good thing.
So I got ruined because I had a friend who I think her maiden name was Belfiore, right? So she grew up, yes, an Italian almost native, right? And she was doing that. What's the Christmas meal that you make with all the different kinds of seafood? She made that for me, right? With all the organic, no kidding ingredients. The first time I had squid and liked it, I was like, she just blew my mind. I was like, I got to go to Italy and eat real Italian food. So still a goal. I went to Rome once. And we had one. I know.
I'm disappointed in you, Jeff.
I know. And it was one of those, my wife is getting better, but she's not slow travel at all. Like she's like the agenda ticker, right? So Rome was just a tick, right? I wanted to stay, but it was, alas, a tick, right? So I think I only got like 2. And now I remember one proper meal that took way too long, but it was amazing. Yes. In my mind, while it was happening, I was like, why am I still here? It's like, no, that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
I get that now, right? But wow.
The transition.
Amazing food though. My goodness. And I thought I was full. And then I realized why it kept going. They're giving you time. Eat that. We'll be back in 45 minutes.
I have been to so many. When I first moved here, I was so excited because they have the price fix menu. And so they're
wow.
this is the menu of the day. And so it's, 3 different things or 4 different things. And I'm like, oh, it's such a good price because I'm a cheapskate at heart.
Yes.
So I'm moving by the cheap price.
The Midwest is still in there. Yes.
Yeah. I'm like, 20 euros and I get dessert and a glass of wine and an appetizer and this and that. I'm like, great. I'm in.
Right.
We get halfway through the meal. I'm like, okay, good. I'm ready to go. They're like, oh no, your entree is coming. I'm like,
I'm almost asleep right now. I know exactly what I thought. I was like, there's no way I can eat more food. There's no way. But you did. You ate more food.
But I did. And it was delicious.
And it was great. I think you could boil down all American problems is we're just too busy and we're too much in a hurry to enjoy really good food. Just slow the F down, please. There's more space. There's more space in your belly. You can eat more.
The secret ice cream stomach. You have that extra stomach over there. Just for the ice cream and gelato.
That's great. Okay, so you moved. When you moved. So let's talk about like what this thing is that you did, where you are Italian, kind of, right? Already.
Yeah. So I am a card carrying Italian. So, okay. Way back when I grew up in St. Louis.
Right. And
my grandma used to talk about the old country. And she's like, oh, in the old country, in Italy, we did it this way in Italy. Well, then I become an adult and I find out my grandmother's never actually been to Italy. It was
really?
Her parents. Yeah, it was her parents, my great grandparents who had left Italy, the town I actually live in. My great grandmother was 16 and her father put her on a boat and sent her over to the man who became my great-grandfather. He was about 3, 4 years older, 3.5
Okay.
years older than me. From the same town. They lived on the same street in the town I live now.
Wow.
They married. They had 13 children
My goodness.
in the United States.
Wow.
40 years after arriving, they became US citizens. And so that opened the opportunity up for me to become an Italian citizen, because when my great-grandparents had those 13 children, they were still only Italian citizens. They were not Americans. And then those 13 children went on to have more children who, my mom was a part of that next generation, still Italian. My mom was being born Italian because of her blood.
Okay.
American because she's born on the soil.
Gotcha.
Same for me. But the Italian government didn't know that we existed. So we were born with Italian blood. We were born with the right, the right of Italian citizenship through our blood. But we had to provide the papers. We're like fancy pedigree puppies without papers. They didn't know we existed.
Okay.
We were not allowed into the AKC. So I had to go through, while I was in Shanghai, this is one of the things that my dad did for me. He went and got 120 years worth of vital records, birth, marriage, death, naturalization certificates, found all these certificates, got them all prepared for me, sent them to me in China. And I called the Italian consulate in Shanghai and said, "Hey, I'm an Italian. I'd like you to give me my papers." And they're like, "You're cute. It's COVID. Not that important to us. Call us next year when COVID's over." And I'm like, okay. So I waited a couple of more months and I called back and I said, "Hey, my friend so-and-so said that she knows your friend so-and-so. Can you help me out now? Because I know somebody." They're like, "Yeah, still not important. Go away, COVID." So after a year of this, finally I figured out I just need to come to Italy. And so I came to Italy and I brought the Italian government all those beautiful papers that my father had found for me back in St. Louis, sent to me in Shanghai, dragged them all the way to Italy.
Wow.
Showed up in Italy and spent 3 months going from government office to government office to government office, presenting all these papers. And eventually they gave me a passport.
Wow.
And now I am both Italian and American.
Oh, you get two.
Yeah, I get to keep both of them. So I can
That's
come in and out.
amazing.
Yeah. And so the best part is with my Italian passport, I cannot just live in Italy. I can live in Spain, in France, in Germany, in Malta, Portugal.
Right.
I have 27
So
different
basically
countries.
you're like a EU citizen and a US citizen.
Yes.
You officially win.
I do. I feel like,
That's awesome.
I literally have to pinch myself most days going, wait a second, all those years of, being a teen mother, making a lot of mistakes, a divorce, all these dumb things, like this is my payoff. This is my
That's
karma.
right. Yeah, right. You did something right.
Somewhere somebody was like, you know what? We got to give this girl something. We got to give this lady we're giving her a little something. Paid her dues.
So at some point, she's going to learn not to marry another himbo.
Yeah, no more himbos.
No more himbos. See, you learned.
No more himbos.
You can date them all you want. Just don't take them home.
No, now I have a really lovely partner. He's Spanish. He's wonderful. He's not a himbo.
Good,
so
good.
smart.
But he's good looking, smart.
Smart, brilliant, kind, like just
good people.
If I put everything down, and this is what I'm telling you, like, I don't know what this karma is and if lightning's going to strike me tomorrow, but it's good. Italy is good.
Yeah.
This is, they give you that passport and the world opens. All of a sudden you get a Spanish boyfriend, delicious food. You get to live by the sea.
Let's talk about the food a little bit more before we wrap up. Oh, you should say how people can do this on their own and you can help them because that's why you're here.
Okay. Yes. So to do this on your own, what you need to do is go out in the street.
Just get your dad in St. Louis to get all these papers. Right.
Yeah. Call my dad, call Joe. No. So if you would like to do this, The easiest way to do this is go to our website, Italian Citizenship Concierge.com. And that's a really long word. Take it, spell it out in 3 different words, Italian Citizenship Concierge. Let's spell check, fix the concierge because you'll probably get it wrong the first time.
Right.
And then add the .com. And off you go.
Yeah, you can Google it too. If you Google the 3 words, you'll come
Google
up and you're number one. You're the number 1 result on Google, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, I noticed
so
that.
So SEO is working. Good for you.
I guess. Yeah. For somebody who knows nothing about SEO, somehow, as this is Italy. It's all beautiful here. SEO even works.
With a breeze. Yes.
So first you contact us, we'll take care of helping you get all those documents and moving to Italy. And then you just focus on packing your bags and let's talk about the food because that's what you should be doing the entire time you're in Italy is eating.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about like just, I don't know what I would say, but it just seems like Italians seem happier and healthier. Like what is there like a mindset that's different? It's like, it seems like they like in the States, like the most important thing about you is what you do for work and you always have to be busy, where it seems different in Italy.
I think a lot about this, because I work with Americans. And so this is something that comes up quite a lot. And you're right. The conversation in America is, what do you do for work? That's the first thing people do when you meet is, what do you do for work? And it's taken me a while to break that habit. And then you start talking about work and people you might know that in common that work, having circles around work, right? Here, I have no idea what most of the people I know do for work. But
they have work and they do work.
I know they have work.
They obviously make money somehow, right? But it's not important.
But it's not important. Instead, you're showing me, their olive trees and telling me about the 100-year-old olive tree, or we're talking about the vacations or the travels. We talk about family, about friends, about
Did you get a new Vespa? Right, something like that.
Yeah. That doesn't come up so much. I mean, look, I live, where I live and where I've traveled in Italy. I mean, people are driving Fiat Pandas. If you've ever seen a Fiat Panda, it's not something you really talk about
because it's not important.
It's transportation.
Exactly.
It's not important. It gets you from point A to point B.
Right.
And until the wheels fall off and you can no longer tape it together, it's perfectly because it's functional.
Right.
But what's more important is, are you spending your weekend, you're going to go to Amsterdam and you're going to see these friends and you're going to eat this food and, we're going to see and we're going to relax and we're going to see these people and then we're going to have a holiday because every other day is a holiday. Right now we're in holiday season. So it's picnic and holiday and it's experiences. People are happier because they're living their life.
Right.
And their life is not 80 hours of work.
Right. It's like fun isn't an afterthought.
No, fun is the reason you go to work. You don't go to work so you can have fun. It's all about living your life, which as somebody who works in government offices can be terribly frustrating. Because, when you need to go into a government office, but their hours are 9 to 12:30, Monday through Thursday.
Right.
And that's it.
Wow.
And then
I love it. I love it.
From 4 to 6, if you're lucky.
Yeah. So by like 12:31, they're already on the second glass of wine. So you'd probably. Yeah. They're doing it. They're doing it right.
They're doing it right.
They're doing it right.
That's great. Like I live in a 4th floor walk up. I just bought a brand new apartment. I'm in a 4th floor walk up and I thought, okay, I'm 50 years old. How long am I going to be able to do this? And
you can do it. You can do it.
I can. And I do it because I have a dog. I do this 5 to 6 times a day.
That's good for you. It's actually going to keep you healthy. Yes.
And I start looking at my neighbors, and my neighbors are all in their 70s and 80s.
They're in a walk up.
Walking up. They're walking up. They're hanging their laundry outside. They're walking up to the roof to hang the laundry to get better sun so it dries in the,
Yeah.
It's totally different,
Yeah.
People are healthier.
It's like they've got bandwidth. They've got a lot of bandwidth in their brain to think about things that aren't work, right? Like when you're in the States, you're on go mode like so much. It's like you don't have time to think about anything, right? Even if you're going to go do something fun, right? It's overbooked. It's like my wife. It's like tick, tick, tick.
Yep. Yeah, because you're going to work, the gym, then you've got to meet somebody for cocktails. You've got to do this, and you've got this whole.
It's all overscheduled,
You go to work in the morning, you get a break in the afternoon, you work for a couple hours, then you meet up with your friends on the weekends. You're out, you go to the sea, you go up to the mountains. It's a completely different mindset. People are walking down the street carrying their groceries a half mile, a mile from the grocery store. That's the exercise. Your time is not spent in a gym staring at, a TV.
Right.
In this hot, sweaty, germ-filled gym.
Yeah.
Instead, you're out in the fresh air, taking a walk down the street. Yeah.
And you're going to get fresh food and you don't have to wait. Yeah. You're just going to buy groceries for today.
You're going to buy groceries for today and a bottle of wine.
Yes. And a big baguette.
You're going to enjoy it. And you're going to enjoy life. And you're going to be with people, which is great. There's just such a sense of community and
one
nice.
more question, just because I'm selfish. How much? I'm pretty sure I would have to say I don't have any Italian blood, but just in case, is there a percentage? Mm-hmm. Do you have to be 100% Italian?
No.
Oh.
So you have to. Okay. So the way it works is Italy became a country in 1861. So you need to have an ancestor.
Right.
That was alive in 1861 or after, anywhere in the world, who was solely an Italian citizen, meaning they had not naturalized to another country when a child, the next in line, was born as that citizen. So it's kind of a little bit complicated. Yeah. But that's kind of the
But I mean,
basic.
if you have Italian family, you would know.
If you have Italian family, yeah, I mean, you're going to know.
Yeah, I don't.
The Italian runs deep.
Well, the thing is like, I always forget whenever I ask my parents. I'm like, so remind me again, what am I where and who's who? That kind of conversation. And they tell me, and then I put it in a note. So it's somewhere in a note in my phone, but I'm pretty sure there's no Italian in there. But I'm going home soon, so I'll ask again.
There you go.
Just in case.
There's Irish or German or Spanish or Portuguese. There's other countries that have something similar. Italy's is one of the most lenient, but there are other countries that have citizenship.
So basically, that's something to think about, because I'm pretty sure there's German and British in there. I don't want to move to England though. Germany would be cool. It's EU. Yeah.
Germany would be cool. I think Germany might make you give up your American citizenship.
Can't do that. That would cost me money.
$2,450. $2,450.
Well, if I gave up my U.S. citizenship, I would lose my Air Force retirement, so I can't do that.
Oh, that would cost you more. Okay, just the renunciation fee, just the pleasure of handing back in your passport will cost you over $2,000. But yes,
I've heard.
Of course, retirement would be painful.
The other thing that I was going to say is I heard another guy gave up his U.S. passport, and it's good that you didn't have to do that, because the U.S. does not like it when you do that.
No.
They make
I have children,
and they make your life really difficult. Yeah, like, oh, you don't want to be an American, you can't come home anymore. Bye. It's so 12-year-old, It's like our country's a 12-year-old.
No, and on that note,
hey, I work there.
right. All right. Good. You can say that.
Hey, this has been This has been a blast. Jen,
It has been.
Jennifer. So people go out, if you're Italian, even just a smidge, go to Italian Citizenship. I can't say the word concierge. Maybe if I pretend like I'm saying Hotel Mercure, I can say concierge. My French badness is still bad. Okay, so check it out and check out Jennifer Sontag. This has been a blast. Thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
All right, you too.
Thanks for taking the time to ride along with us on another episode of Vroom Vroom Veer. For podcast info and show notes, be sure to head over to vvveer.com. That's VVER.com. Man, that's fun to say. And we'll catch up with you next time here on Vroom Vroom Veer.